Hi, everyone. I'm very excited for today's session. Today's session is with the one and only Nicola Sorrell of Effective Accounting. Hey, Nicola, how are you doing today?
Hi, I'm good, thank you. Just in from a PT session this morning, so I might look a bit flustered.
Together with the stress of trying to get this to work today
It's not
as well.
working.
I know. Okay, fantastic. Anyway, we'll get, there's quite a few people here now, so hopefully you haven't missed anything. We haven't yet started. We're going to start right now. We're very excited for today's session because today's session is all about how Nicola, amazingly, gets 100% of tax returns done by the end of October. Now, I wanted to chat to Nicola because some of you may know that I run a tax return challenge in my Facebook group. I've been running it for the last 4 years, and Nicola here has won it every single year. And this is her 4th year that she's won it, even though the challenge isn't technically finished, because normally it's whoever gets the most returns done by the end of December is then declared the champion. But clearly, no one's going to beat Nicola because she's already got 100% done by the end of October. So I thought, well, you know what? I need to get Nicola on and have a chat with her, share it with you guys so you can see what is possible, that it is possible to get your returns done much sooner than you think. You don't have to be working crazy long hours in December and January to get your returns done. This is possible. So I wanted you to hear from the horse's mouth exactly how Nicola does it, what she does, the tactics that she deploys to then give you that encouragement, motivation, and inspiration to say this is possible. You can get it too. You don't have to have 50% of your tax returns outstanding in January. Even though if you don't get 100% done by October, even if you got 90% done by Christmas, that I'm sure you'd be more than happy with. So as we're talking, feel free to put any questions in the comments below and I will put them to Nicola. Also, let me know what percentage of tax returns you have done so far. Put that in the comments below. If you're in the tax return challenge, then, we already have those figures, but it's always good to create that bit of accountability and motivation. Okay, so without further ado, I'm going to stop yapping and we'll get stuck straight in. Before we talk about the how, just for people to get a sense of you and your firm, can you just talk about your practice, how many people you have, the kind of businesses you serve, and the most important figure, how many tax returns do you have to do in a year? Just for people to know that it's only just, you don't just have 10 tax returns to do and that's why you've got them all done. It's a lot more than that. So over to you, Nicola. Introduce yourself, your firm.
Sure, no problem. So I'm Nick Sorrell. I'm the founder of Effective Accounting. Set the firm up about 15 years ago, been doing it 10 years full time. I've had various different sizes of team. At my peak, I had 9, but now I've got 3, so me plus 3. 2 client managers and 1 admin. We look after primarily service-based businesses, owner-managed directors of limited companies. So only limited companies, only in service-based industries, all UK-based, only using Xero. And for 82% of those clients, we do their bookkeeping. So we manage their bookkeeping. And for 22-23, we had 334 tax returns to do in total.
334.
Yeah. 40 of those returns were like standalone returns. The rest were all directors or shareholders of the limited companies we support.
Okay, fantastic. Okay, but presumably some of those were a bit more complex than just salary and dividends. They may have properties and shares and other things going on than just salary and divs that you would have access to. Is that right?
Yeah, primarily rental income. We get a lot of clients with other rental income, some with sort of dividend portfolios, but yeah, mainly that.
Okay, fantastic. All right, so talk to us now, Nicola. If in terms of your high level approach, you must have a strategy because you have, consistently got your tax returns done sooner and sooner every year for the past 4 years at least. Talk to me about your strategy. What do you have in place? What do you discuss with the team at the start of the tax return season to ensure that you get the tax returns knocked out well before the deadline? So if you talk about the high level, then we can drill into some of the specifics.
Sure. So I think the main thing is that I worked in practice. I've worked in small practices since I started out 25 years ago. So my goal when I set up Effective Accounting was that there would be no peaks and troughs in work of any kind. So I wanted there to be a static level of work across every month so you could plan better. And we do this across accounts as well. So our accounts are all out within 3 months of year end. So we don't have anything I think our latest year ends that are to do for limited companies are like August. So we have a very static, very, very stable workload in place. And the ways that we've done that over the years is really honing in on who we work with, but also owning the data. So by doing the bookkeeping for nearly all of our clients, we have most of the information as soon as we hit 6th of April. And it will only be getting the extra information like the rental income, the bank interest. But generally, we're currently looking after 258 limited companies. For 82% of those, we do the bookkeeping. So we own that data. We have it. We don't need to ask for it. The clients rely on us to be able to pick out their salary and dividends straight away. So we can almost draft their returns. And that's what we've done this year. So that's how we got to 93% by July. We pretty much drafted the salary and dividends on their tax returns before they'd even given us the rest of the information.
Fantastic. Okay.
Yeah.
So how do you deal with those that perhaps, the different year ends, or are they tend to be December and March, or have you got, different year ends throughout the course of the year?
No, so we've got clients with our year ends are quite evenly spread, to be fair. So we haven't got a lot of clients with December or March. They are quite evenly spread. But because we do that bookkeeping on a monthly basis, all of our bookkeeping will be up to date when we get to the 5th of April or near and thereabouts. If there's a few things overlying, or when the VAT quarter ends might have an impact. So if the VAT quarter ends in May, it might be that we wait until after the end of May and when we've done that VAT return to get the tax return done. But generally, all the bookkeeping is done for all the clients very quickly.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So what is so in terms of if you were to write down the process, what does that look like? Is it a case of you do the return first, send it to them, and then ask for individual bits of information? Or do you do kind of the big email at the start of the tax year to say, right, give us your information? Specifically, how does that kind of process work?
So our process, we have an online form that's been honed over many, many years, like tweaking the language, because language has a big impact for clients on how they read it, and trying to take all the friction out of it, trying to make it as quick and easy as possible to do. So for the majority of our clients, they'll be able to fill in our tax return checklist online on our website within 2 minutes. So we've made it a quick and easy process. So and we use Carbon for our practice management. So this year we sent out our request for information. I think it was on the 6th of April. We just decided to send them straight out. So they'll get an email saying, we need to start doing your tax return. Here's, I think we've got a blog that's 9 reasons to get your tax returns done early. Here's a link to our blog of why you should get it done now. Here's the link. And then on Carbon, we send a reminder every 21 days. So they'll have had reminders at every 21 days since the 6th of April. And it's kind of, send them so many reminders, they just get bored of us. Some of them have literally said that to us, we're bored of you sending us reminders. And our answer is do it first time and you won't get a reminder. But we do hound them. And I think after doing this for 3 or 4 years, they kind of know as soon as they start receiving those emails that we won't go away. So they get it done quicker. And our big focus this year was around getting them done by July. So I think I worked out that about 88% of our clients have payments on account. So we do a big target to those clients, telling them in that email. So we'll tailor that email and say, at the end of July, you've got this payment on account due. You may not need to pay this if we do your return. We may be able to reduce it if we do your return. So we make a big push for July. And that was our target this year. Even if I look at sort of our percentages that we've got done over the years, this year was the massive, massive increase to 93% in July. And that was what my team were targeted to do, they were targeted to get to 75% by the end of July.
Amazing. And they got to 93.
93, yeah.
Fantastic. Now that's amazing. So you said every 21 days. So technically that's only 2 or 3 emails by July. And that's enough to get everything in. So that's only, let's say, the April email, the May email, the June email. I mean, the July email is near the end of the month, so you've probably got most of them done anyway. So just 3 emails and clients give information just off the back of those 3 emails?
Yeah, and like I say, it's the checklist has been honed so much over the years that it's really easy for them to fill in, and they can upload everything straight to the checklist. They can add comments to the checklist. I've invested so that they can save it and come back to it, so they can save part, because we used to get that a lot. Clients would say, well, I've started filling it in and then I couldn't find something. And so we've done it so that you can save it partway through, send yourself a link, go back on and add some bits in later. So we've had really good feedback from clients that the checklist has made it really easy.
Okay, fantastic. And so would the normal process be that, so for, at the same time as sending out the emails to say, give us your information, would you also at that time prepare the returns that you already have the information for and then start handling people individually as well? Does your team do that in conjunction with the email?
The team will, as soon as they're confident that they've got the dividend figure. So we already have the salary figure. So my admin will put their P60 information in as soon as we get to the year end for payroll. So they'll put that directly into the tax return in TaxCalc. As soon as the client manager is comfortable that they've done the bookkeeping and know the dividends up to 5th of April, they'll put that in the return. And then as soon as the tax return checklist in, they'll finish it off. And what they'll do is on an individual basis, if they're comfortable that they've got the salary and the dividend, they'll send a separate sort of more personal email to the client saying, we're basically there, just fill in the checklist.
Okay, excellent. So you've actually got more than one person handling the return. The payroll person the admin will do the payroll bit, and then the client manager will do the rest effectively.
Exactly.
Yeah. Fantastic. Excellent. And is there anyone in the team that does any of the more complicated ones? How do they get that?
I do the 40 returns that aren't the director shareholders, and that's just because the client managers don't look after those clients and it just keeps them dealing with their clients. So I did 40 returns out of the 334 this year, and it's not because they're complicated, they just don't fit our general processes of directors.
Yeah. Fantastic. So tell us more about the form that you use, because I think you mentioned last time you used Cognito forms. Is that still the same?
Yeah, we're still using Cognito forms, but what we do each year is that where we hear about any tiny bit of friction that the client might have, like I didn't quite understand, like people often don't understand child benefit. Oh no, my wife gets that. So we'll tweak that and say, even if your wife/husband gets the child benefit, you'll need to fill this in. So we're constantly honing the language and things on there so that they understand what they're filling in. Because that's been our biggest thing over probably the last 4 years, is people not fully understanding the form and ticking no to things like, do you have a student loan? No. And actually they mean yes, they just didn't know what they were filling in. So then we've put sort of extra wording in there, sort of tips like, you might have a student loan if blah, 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 blah. And then do you know whether it's a loan 1 or loan 2? This is how you can find out. So we've added sort of extra tips and things in there to help them fill it in, so that it's all about getting rid of the friction. So I want them to be able to go through the checklist and be able to answer every question in one sitting. And if they can't answer it in one sitting, then I've created friction, because they're going to come back to it and now they're annoyed because they didn't know what they were doing. So that's what we're trying to focus on, is making it a one sitting task, and that they can just do it in the evening having a cup of tea.
Yeah. Absolutely. No, I 100% agree with you. And we've got a similar thing going. We use Google Forms, and likewise, our Google form has been tailored over the years, where it is all about that. It's about making the process easy for clients. If you make the user experience easy, and like you say, remove the friction from the process, they're more likely to do it. If you're just sending them emails and say, give me this, they're going to look at it. It's going to feel like a huge lift and a heavy task. And then what they'll do is they'll say, oh, I'll come back to that, and they never do. So make it easy for them, remind them often enough, and they will do it. And actually, I make mine available to members of my community, and also available separately as well. So if that's something you're interested in and you want the ready-made version, just comment below tax return system, and I'm happy to send that across to you. And I guess you're not too concerned, Nicola, about the fact that, because often people say to me, well, why are you doing it in Google? Why don't you do it there's a manual process, right, where you have to take the information from that Google form and then put it into TaxCalc or wherever. My answer to that is, well, at the moment it doesn't quite exist in TaxCalc for it to be as good as a Google form, whereas Google make things that have a great UX, a great user experience, and people are comfortable with them. They're more likely to complete them, and hence why you use them. Is that probably similar sort of thinking on your side?
I think so. And I think the aim has always got to be to get the information as early as possible from a client. And the easier you make it for them, the better. It might be harder for us. Yes, we've got to type it in, but we've got that data quicker. And as well, I don't know how many people get this, but clients often put the wrong information on the form anyway. So,
Exactly.
There is a sense check from the client manager that what they've filled in makes sense, and they'll compare it to last year. And it does add in that sort of human check, because they don't always know what they're doing.
Absolutely. No, you're spot on there. You're spot on. So if you're listening and you are maybe, you're taking all this in, and you can see how you can apply that, or maybe you're flabbergasted and don't believe it's possible, or you've got any questions, then now is your chance. Now is your chance to ask Nicola, how on earth does she do it? How on earth is it possible? What is going through your head at the moment listening to Nicola make it sound so easy that you just send out a few reminders and a form, and magically everything just gets sent to you? Does this sound too good to be true? Well, now's your chance to ask. Ask Nicola the hard questions in your head, and I'm sure Nicola will be happy to share. So Nicola, how do you, in terms of when you're getting to that point, so I mean, you finished them by end of October. For the, let's say for the last, the 10-20%, the laggards who are not responding to you, do you use any type of carrot or stick to get them to give you the information to do it?
Yeah, so we charge an additional £75 plus VAT if we receive it after the 31st of October. Okay. So that's to our director, owner, managed businesses, so who are paying a monthly fee that includes their tax return. So they get charged an extra £75 if it's received after 31st of October. Mm-hmm. For the standalone returns that we do, so the 40 ones that I do, this year I changed how I price them, and I think it worked really well. So I sent out my proposals using Ignition, and they got given a price, and it said, if you send it in by the end of July, you'll get a 10% discount. But if you send it in after the 31st of October, you'll pay 20% premium. So I kind of gave them the option to choose their own fee. And that worked really well, because I think 37 of those 40 came in before the end of July. Mm-hmm. So giving people the option of having it lower if they'd send it in seemed to work. And I hadn't done that before. I've always done more of the stick approach of like, we'll charge you extra. Whereas this way I was telling them I'd charge them less.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I just wanted to get them done before the summer. I think there's a really key thing with getting them done by the end of July, which was why I targeted the team with that this year. So over the last 3 years, we've only hit 63, 64 and 57% by the end of July. And this year we hit 93. And the reason we focused on that was payments on account for clients. You've got a big reason to get them by July. But the other big reason is, if we looked at the stats on it, and if you don't get it by the end of July, you won't get it until October in most cases, because people are on holiday in August and then they're getting kids back at school in September. So every year we see a massive drop in who sends their information in from the last week of July through to the middle of September. So you kind of lose 2 months. So our focus is always now to get them in by the end of July before everybody gets into the summer. And we'll tailor some like reminders later on to those clients. So clients we know have got 2 kids, we'll like get on the phone to them and say, look, you don't want to do this in the summer holidays, and then you don't want to be doing it in September, and then it will be starting to get ready for half term. So let's just get it done before July. So my client managers have really good relationships with their clients, and they'll be able to do that.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I think that's the bit that helps you. So it's not just because the one email is probably not going to do much, but no. I imagine that in June, July, your client managers, they're on the phone and they're sending it out and they're asking for individualized information to really, get the information in. Is that right?
Yeah. And that's how we've done it. And that's how it's worked over time, and why we've been able to get the numbers down over time in terms of how we've got it done, is building those relationships. And I had 6 client managers at one point, and now I've got 2. And so they have more clients each, but they really do narrow in on their clients. And so they've built those relationships over the last 3 or 4 years, and they know what to say to each client. Yeah. So they'll know, you're going on holiday in August. You don't want to do it then. You're not going to want your tax bill when you get back from holiday either. And they'll just know how to approach each client with it.
Absolutely. Okay. Just going back to the numbers. So was it 334 you said you had in total?
334, yeah.
334. You do 40 of them, right?
Yeah.
So that leaves just under 300 odd. And you've got 2 client managers now?
Yeah.
So they do 150 each between them?
Yeah.
Okay. So that's not a small number. And in terms of their, I presume they've got accounts and stuff to deal with as well. How do they manage their workload and stuff to make sure that, accounts are getting done and payroll and all the rest of it together with tax returns? What kind of motivation do you give them to kind of prioritize this rather than leaving it to the last minute?
Yeah, absolutely. So I've set my firm up so it replicated how I started. So obviously when I started Effective Accounting, it was just me. So clients only had me as their contact. And as I scaled it, I tried various different options. So I had like pods, I tried departments, I did everything that everybody else has done. And then I decided to just go with client managers because that's how it had worked for me. And so my client managers, they don't do payroll. So our director payrolls are done by our admin, and then anything more complicated than a director standard payroll is outsourced. But my client managers will do the bookkeeping, the VAT, and the accounts and the personal tax, and they'll do all the client liaison, so dealing with all the emails. And I think it comes down to, again, just constantly doing the bookkeeping. So although we charge our clients for quarterly bookkeeping in order to complete their VAT return, so they don't expect daily or weekly bookkeeping, but we will generally get weekly bookkeeping done purely to keep our workflow static. And that's how we do it. So we don't get to the end of a quarter and have to do a quarter's worth of bookkeeping to get a VAT return done. The bookkeeping's being done constantly. So the way my team have done it, and they've organised it themselves, is they'll have tax return Tuesday and Thursday, or they'll pick a day and they'll just say in the peak time when we were sort of doing April to July, Tuesdays and Thursdays, they'd just do tax returns. And they'd put a certain channel on the radio and they'd just be ploughing through, and they'd have a bit of camaraderie between the two of them, of how many of you got done and how many of you got done. And we've got whiteboards up that make it visual. So they just get really into the spirit of it. They just make it fun, I think.
Yeah. Fantastic. And it's just the two of them. There's no juniors underneath them to assist them. It's just they handle A to Z on the client.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Amazing. Okay. We've got a couple of questions coming in. If you've got a question, then now is your chance. Put it in the comments and I will put it to Nicola. There's one from a Facebook user here. How do you deal with amendments? Clients coming back 2 months after sending the draft with additional information they had found, so the return can't be filed until the client approved it.
We charge for amendments. So if they've gave us the information on our tax return checklist and we've prepared the tax return based on that checklist, then they get charged if they change that information. And it's just a standard £75 plus VAT. And they're told that as well. So when we send them the return, on the footer of the email, it says, if you've got any amendments following the preparation of this tax return that you didn't include on your checklist, you will be charged £75 plus VAT for an amendment. And I think it says it on our emails when we send it out as well. So the checklist shouldn't take you very long to do, but do it correctly, because of any amendments will be chargeable.
Fantastic. Excellent. Great idea. Next question. It's also interesting for Nicola to share insights on her bookkeeping process for over 200 clients in-house, if she outsources the work, or if the two accounts managers process both the bookkeeping, which would appear excessive for that many clients, but clearly not. I think you kind of answered that, but do you want to just kind of reconfirm?
I can do, yeah. So I think the key thing is that they are very, very small service-based businesses. So we don't have product-based businesses. So the volume of transactions tends to be quite low. So you're not comparing it with an Amazon seller or something like that. A lot of our clients will be contractors. So you may have one sales invoice a month, money coming in to match that invoice, and then 25 transactions where they've been to Pret. So it tends that it isn't very volume based in terms of the number of transactions on the bookkeeping. I think the complexity for my client managers is the number of people they need to respond to on email, as opposed to the actual doing, if that makes sense. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, and I think a similar sort of question coming in, or kind of a statement saying huge volume from one account manager. Well, actually, as Nicola explained, it's not transaction heavy, and no doubt if you've got solid processes and the more familiar you get with clients and the fact that you're doing it weekly, you generate those efficiencies, and those efficiencies help you to manage that many clients. And I'm sure your team are happy and they're comfortable, and if they were drowning, then they would shout and you would then adequately resource the capacity required.
Definitely. I should also clarify, my team work a 35-hour week, and I pay overtime, but I haven't paid any overtime this year because they haven't done any. And because we finished our tax returns so early in July, they had Fridays off for the whole of the summer. So they're not overworked.
Absolutely. Fantastic. Good. So any other questions, let me know in the comments box. If you want access to that personal tax return system I mentioned that we use, for just put in tax return system in the comments and we'll get that across to you. Is there anything else, Nicola, in your process that I haven't asked you about that you think would be worth sharing with others?
I don't think so. I think the biggest thing for me this year, and I have already said it, but I think the big thing is when you think about it being a deadline of January, it feels so far off. So I've always targeted my team. I give them a percentage to get done by the end of each month. So this year it was 17% by the end of April, 40% by the end of May, etc. I think if you think of it more like that, you're more likely to get more done. And I think focusing on July is where you'll get proper gains. So if you focus on, right, we're going to get as much done as possible. So look at where you got to for July this year, set a target that's ambitious, but potentially achievable, and focus on that. Because I think when you've got a goal that you've got, 8-9 months to do something, nothing's going to happen. So we set the sort of steps in between of each month, how much we want to get done.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's really important. We do that as well, kind of a monthly target. It just helps to kind of keep the pressure on, keep the momentum going, because it's the early gains. People are going to get busy. People are going to fall ill. There's going to be holidays. So, just having a target for Christmas is no good. Have that monthly target, keep the pressure on, keep the momentum going. And that's how you get these kind of results. So did you mention it was a 93% you got done by July?
93% by the end of July, 75% by June.
Fantastic.
Yeah. So I think it's a bit like losing weight. If I said to myself, I want to lose 2 stone by the end of the year, you need to break it down.
Yeah.
Because human nature is to just leave it a bit. You've got plenty of time. So I think that's been massive for us this year. Because last year we were only at 57% by the end of July.
Wow.
July has been the big focus.
Yeah, that's a huge jump. And it makes sense. And we kind of do the same thing as well. I tell my team, well, clients are only going to do something if there's something in it for them. So talk about the benefit to them. The benefit to them, getting it done by July, means that potentially they could pay less tax in July because there's a payment on account doing, and they're going to know what the liability is well before it's got to be paid. So you focus on what's in it for them. And if you focus on that, they're more likely to give you what you want. If it's just a case of you asking for the sake of you asking, there's nothing in it for them. So yeah, focus on what is the benefit to them, explain that in your calls and your emails, and you're more likely to get it from them. And yeah, provide the incentives, the carrots, in terms of, if they get it in early, then they can save a bit of money and pay less. And then, the stick, pay a bit more if they don't get it in by a certain time. Unfortunately, that's how human behavior works. So use it to your advantage. We often create clients, it sometimes is our fault that if we're not asking for information until December, January, we can't complain that we are overworked and stretched and have everything coming in January and can't cope with life, because, we create that mess for ourselves. So, planning in advance, as they say, plan, what is it? Plan to fail to prepare.
Fail to prepare. Prepare to fail.
Prepare to fail, isn't it? Absolutely. So yeah, prepare well in advance, as you've seen Nicola doing, and no doubt you can get those similar results. So any final questions, let me know in the comments. Otherwise, I think, it's been really useful today, Nicola. Apologies for the slight late start for this due to technical problems. But I think in summary, it's, as Nicola has said, this is not rocket science. This is not, Nicola hasn't shared with you anything that you didn't already know. It's simply about starting early, getting out those reminders early on, drafting the returns as much as you can, and then sending out to clients, following up with the phone calls and maintaining the pressure early on, getting those early gains, and doing a big push by the end of July to so there's some benefit in it for the clients. And really, with those simple steps, you too can get your tax returns done a lot faster than you ever have done. Anything else to add there, Nicola?
I think the only other thing that I've just seen on my notes, we're just checking that I've gone through everything, is I think it helps having predictable reminders. So you might not have that option in your software, but I think when clients know that they're going to get a reminder every 21 days, I think that's the other thing. Because I think before I used Carbon 2 years ago, I was guilty of going, oh, well, we've got a bit of time, and then sending out some reminders. Whereas you get the clients used to the fact that you're going to get a reminder every so many days. And on Carbon, it tells them how many reminders they've had. So I think that also helps. So it says like reminder number 5, which is like naughty you, slap on hand, sort yourself out. So I think that also helps that you're doing them regularly, because you're training them. You're training them to do something. And if you're just sporadically sending out emails saying, oh, by the way, we've got time to do your tax return, still reminding you, I don't think that's quite enough. I think they need to be regular. I think they need to be predictable. So they need to know that you're going to hound them.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, I couldn't agree with you more. And we send ours out every. I mean, I push the team to send it out pretty much every fortnight. We've got a bank of different emails we use, written in a kind of a friendly way at the beginning, and then they get more and more sterner as the deadline goes on. Things like if you don't get information to me, you'll miss out. We'll cross you off our Christmas card list. A bit of tongue in cheek. Things like that, playing with them. And don't think that even some of my team say to me, oh no, we feel bad sending out so many emails. Well, you shouldn't, because if the client got the information in, you wouldn't have to send so many emails. And we have to remember, just like us, our clients' emails are full, their inboxes are full of stuff that they get. So, your email is going to get hidden. If you send one, every couple of months, if they forget that one and then you're not reminding them again for a couple of months, it's no surprise you're not getting the information in. So the more reminders, the better. Bring, the agenda to the top of their inbox and you'll get replies. So yeah, if you want access to that bank of emails, type in tax return system and give you access to mine. Excellent. I think this has been really useful. Thank you once again, Nicola, for coming on today and sharing your system.
No
Before we go, what have you got planned for December and January? You're chilling now, aren't you?
December, January, February, and March.
And March, of course, yeah.
So we've got like 5 months without any tax returns. Resting. People keep asking me, will we take on more tax returns? And I keep saying no, because that wasn't the goal. So no, the plan isn't to take on any more tax returns in that time. I know we could do that, but that's not our goal. We're working on some internal systems and processes and things, and potentially changing practice management system. So we've got 5 months to do that.
Oh, are you not? Are you moving away from carbon? Are you?
Potentially, we're looking at the option. Yeah.
What don't you like about carbon?
Their support. They charge a premium fee for very, very poor support, and that grinds on me a bit. I quite like the software, but there are glitches with it, and I wonder whether there's something better out there. But it's the reason why we've always gone best of breed, because you can switch things out, and we're going to look, basically have another look at what's available and see if it gives us the right time to do it.
Absolutely, you've got the time. Fantastic. All right. Well, thank you once again, Nicola. Thank you for listening today. If you want to catch up on it, you can go and listen to it on the Profitable Accountant podcast. You'll be able to listen to the recording over there. But otherwise, hope you got some tangible takeaways from today's session and implement some of the things that you heard Nicola talk about, so you can get your tax returns done much sooner than you have been. If there's any other questions or comments you have, feel free to put them wherever you're listening to this and tag in myself or Nicola, and hopefully if we have a chance, we will come back to you. Otherwise, thank you once again, Nicola. Really appreciate your time. Take care, everyone, and bye for now.
Thank you. Bye.